Welcome to this briefing of the Jerusalem Press Club, JPC, another one in the series we have been running for the international press since the beginning of the coronavirus crisis. The recent webinars are held under the title Scoop on Annexation or Sovereignty, focusing on the impending plan to annex or apply the Israeli law on areas in the West Bank or Judea and Samaria, presumably on July 1st. Today we host Dr. Saeb Erekat, Secretary General of the Executive Committee of the PLO and a long-time negotiator with Israel since the Madrid Conference through the Oslo process, Camp David, Taba, Annapolis, and more. Dr. Erekat, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today. Before we go into the ramification of the plan, known as the Trump peace plan, can you tell us what do you actually know about the plan and were you involved in its making?
Good morning and thank you for the kind invitation. I had personally met with President Trump and his team 37 times in 2017. There were 4 summit meetings between my President Abbas and President Trump. I was there. And then there were 33 meetings at my level with Jared Kushner, Greenblatt, and Friedman and others. As far as the plan, no, I saw it as you saw it on TV on the 28th of January. We watched TV, you and I, like people in Nigeria and South America and Alaska, and we saw 2 gentlemen standing up in the White House speaking about my future, the future of my grandchildren, without even bothering to consult with me. So that was the real shift. The shift was here on from negotiations to dictation. The whole conceptual framework, the contractual nature of my relations with Israel was based on a concept defined in Oslo. Number 1, mutual recognition between the PLO and the government of Israel. Number 2, there were 6 issues defined between the 2 sides: Jerusalem border settlement, refugees, water, security, and later we added prisoners. And that should be negotiated between the 2 sides in a certain time frame, 5 years. And number 3, that no side should take any steps that may preempt or prejudge these issues. And the objective of the negotiations is to implement resolutions 242 and 338. This was the contract. In 1996, in 1995, we signed the interim agreement in which it specified that West Bank and Gaza Strip as a single territorial unit, the jurisdiction of which will be transferred to the Palestinian Authority 18 months to inauguration of the council. That was supposed to be September 1997, except for the issues that will be negotiated in permanent status. And this did not happen. And now they moved in 2020 towards dictation. Jared Kushner took my job as the chief Palestinian negotiator, and he said he knows better the interests of the Palestinians. He discussed with Friedman, with Netanyahu and the Council of Settlers, and they copied and pasted everything these people wanted and introduced it to you and me as a dictated solution to all issues. Jerusalem will be the eternal, undivided capital of Israel. Refugees are out of the question. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, it's the Jewish homeland. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, it's Israel overriding security responsibility. My airspace, territorial water, international passages will be in the hands of Israel. And I will live in enclaves, and I can do things civil, religious, as long as they don't contradict Israel's security or interests or so on. So this is the worst ever proposal that was made to Palestinians since 1917. And that's where we...
Aren't you jumping your guns too early? At least half of the Israelis oppose annexation. Even some of the settlers are against it. Israeli generals warn of the security threat. The Europeans mention sanctions. The ambassador of the Emirates to Washington has just warned against it. Even the Americans themselves are not so hasty. So perhaps this is just a ruse by Netanyahu, who will eventually say, look, I really tried to do it, but with all these people against me, I just couldn't.
Well, Uri, I think the point here is that we saw 2 gentlemen signing an agreement, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and another Benjamin Gantz. in which Article 29 specified that they will go into the annexation. The term annexation is actually a new, it's replacing negotiations. They don't need me. So what we did was to tell them, all right, since you decided to abandon our agreements, you're on your own. I'm no longer obliged to any of my commitments emanating from agreement signed, whether with you or with the US. We did this before the annexation to stop the annexation. Because had we not done this, you'd have asked me, why didn't you do something before? Why did you keep silent? You kept silent, and they understood that it's okay with you. We know the dialectic of the Israeli great minds, or the American administration's great mind. So actually, we took these steps to prevent the annexation, to stop the annexation, and to say to the world, there is another path. These things must be internationally recognized issues that should be negotiated between the two sides. And we asked for the international community to convene an international conference in order to relaunch the negotiations that would lead to ending the occupation and the establishment of two states in 1967.
Can you understand the attitude of the average Israeli that there's no Palestinian partner? There's a long history of Palestinians rejecting any offer, most recently in Camp David 2000 in Taba, where Ehud Barak made very generous offers only to be rejected. And then the bloody Second Intifada. Can you understand this attitude?
Well, I can tell you something, that there are two chapters in negotiations, in the science of negotiations. One is how to reach an agreement with the other side based on creating common grounds. You're not going to get everything you want. They're not going to get everything you want. But you have to stand up in front of your people, both sides, and say, we did not get everything we want, but what we got is fair. That's chapter one. That's what negotiations is all about. A civilized mechanism to solve problems by peaceful means. Now Netanyahu authored a new chapter in negotiations. How not to reach an agreement and blame the other side. And this is conclusive science of Benjamin Netanyahu. Because if you take all that, I was in all these negotiations. I want to see one thing the Israeli sides offered as a concession since they entered these negotiations. It was us who recognized the state of Israel to live in peace and security on 1967 borders. That's 78% of historic rich-mandated Palestine. Israel, up until this moment, did not recognize the state of Palestine. It was us who entertained the issues of swaps, limited arms, third party. We said East Jerusalem, capital of Palestine, West Jerusalem, capital of Israel, but we can have an open city. Security, we introduced the concept of third party, I said. Refugees, we spoke of a just and agreed solution to refugees in accordance with the Arab Peace Initiative. And I want to see, when in my research and my books that I'm doing about the whole period, I want to see one thing that the Israelis have done other than tripling and quadrupling and fifth dribbling the amount of settlement, settlers, confiscation of land, dictations, and trying to solve problems by the language of security solutions and such talk about blaming, just finger pointing and poking me in the eyes and saying no partner. That's if you say Arafat was no partner, the man who recognized Israel and got a peace prize, Nobel Peace Prize. Abu Mazen, you call him not a partner. Who are the partners? You want to make peace with yourselves. That's it. Netanyahu wants to sit with Netanyahu and with Friedman and say we got an agreement. And come here, boys, you Palestinians. You must be good. Accept what we offer because we know what's best for you. And if we don't accept this, you're going to be accused of 1, 2, 3. Do you know, Uri, that the United States of Trump have passed 44 acts of punishment on Palestinians in the last 34 months, including trying to close the only cancer hospital in East Jerusalem and the only eye hospital, and they funded UNRWA, where we have 544,000 students in our refugee camps. Why? Why is all of this? It's because they have an ideology that this is the way it should be, that we as Palestinians have no narrative, no history, no religion, no story to tell, no grandchildren to speak about, no books to author, and just we have to accept the narrative of the Zionist movement from the, and it's specified in the so-called Trump Netanyahu. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, it's the Jewish ancestral homeland. Yeah, well, I'm from Jericho. I'm 11,000 years old. I was there 6,000 years before Yoshua ben Nun brought this Egyptian and came to burn my hometown, Jericho. I'm not asking you to take my story or my narrative. I'm asking you to respect my narrative, but not to deny my total existence with such silly plans.
Okay. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said in an interview to Israel China 2 TV in October 2011 that he thought that rejecting the 181 resolution in 1948 about the partition of Palestine is a mistake. Aren't you repeating the same mistake today? Maybe it was a good idea to say yes to Camp David or to Taba, or even today to start something?
Well, number one, in Camp David, there was no offer made as the people tell you, and you repeat it in your press conferences and so on. Actually, it was December 23rd, 2000, where President Clinton invited me personally with Shlomo Ben Ami and Gilad Sher from your side to go to the White House, and he sat us on a table and dictated to us the so-called Clinton parameter. By the way, we did not say no. We went to see him on January 2nd, 2001. We discussed, we asked questions, but he left in 15 days. As far as the negotiations with Olmert, he can tell you. I think Mr. Olmert is an honest man. He said the truth. He offered a map of 6.5% exchange, swaps, equal in size and values. With this hand, I handed him a map from Abu Mazen of an exchange of swaps of 1.9%, all right? And then, because he did that, you sent him to jail. Rabin came close to making peace. He was assassinated by one of your own.
I think Olmert went to jail on different issues.
Whatever. That's your business. I don't want to poke my nose in your affairs, but I'm telling you what happened. There were maps exchanged, a 1.9 versus 6.5. So we were so close to reaching an agreement because anyone who knew that 101 in negotiations should have sat down with these two maps and figured out the bridging proposals between the two numbers. That was possible. So we did not say no. Even with the negotiations through President Obama's administration, first with Hillary Clinton and then with John Kerry and Tzipi Livni and Yitzhak Milcha, all right? Please, I mean, Mr. Kerry gave a speech at the Saban Center upon his departure in December 2016, and he explained everything. Mr. Netanyahu did not leave anything in the book without putting obstacles. He refused to put a map on the table for 3 years. He refused us to put a map on the table. How can you make peace? Territorial. How do you know your jurisdiction? How do you know your places without putting a map on the table? And the man refused to put a map on the table. I know you Israelis hate to be faced with facts. You don't like to be criticized. I know all of this about you. All right. But at the end of the day, what are you doing? Uri, wake up. I, Saeb Erekat, the Christian Muslim Palestinian from my hometown Jericho on the River Jordan, today, the 14th of June 2020, I'm 50.9% of the population. Uri, you, Friedman, Netanyahu, you are 49.1% of the population. What are you going to do with me? I'm 99% literacy rate. I have the highest PhD, master's, bachelor's holders per capita on earth. Are you seriously thinking that you can apply on me a system of one state, two systems, apartheid, in 2020? Because you have 3,000 tanks and 2,000 fighting planes? You really can think this way?
Okay, question. The current plan, as much as we know about it, talks about annexing 30% of the West Bank. What happens if it falls short of that? Let's say annexing only the big settlements, which anyway, I think you already accepted the fact that they, in the long run, they're going to stay under Israel. Would you think about that differently?
Uri, the concept here is that there are two parties who are negotiating. And they agreed that they will not do any steps that may preempt or prejudge the issues they negotiate by unilateral steps. So the mere term annexation, whether it's 1 centimeter or 100 centimeters, it's destroying the possibility of a negotiated agreement between Palestinians and Israelis. That's the truth. Just think about it. Think about it. Now, Netanyahu went with Friedman, devised the maps, came to my Jordan Valley, to the Jordan Valley, showed the maps to the press, to you, everything. He's impressed. He loves it. He is the king of Israel and maybe be the emperor of Israel, whatever he wants to call himself, the longest serving master of the world, whatever. You know, the ME syndrome with this man, ME syndrome with Netanyahu, has never been registered anywhere in history of mankind since Eve negotiated Adam. And the point is, when he comes and say, I want to annex, what does he want me? He wants me to go as a witness to my annexation. He wants to annex 94% of the Jordan Valley, the so-called settlement blocks. And then what do I negotiate? Okay, he wants to dictate it with his tanks, with the gun in my head, with a gun in my leg, with a gun in my stomach. Fine, he has the power, but power is relative. If he annexes 1 inch of territory, mark my words, Uri, there will never be a negotiated Palestinian-Israeli settlement. There will never be any peace between Israel and any Arab countries. And even the countries that you have peace with, Jordan and Egypt, it will be revisited, whether somebody likes it or not. It will be reviewed. It will be reconsidered, because this is too much of anyone who's trying to make peace, that he wants to impose the solution, okay? Because he has someone named Friedman who thinks he can link things together, and who thinks that it's not us that recognized Israel or Jerusalem as its capital, it's God, and he wants to turn and religious conflict. Uri, Judaism to us as Palestinians, you know it, was never a threat, is not a threat, will never be a threat. My conflict with you, Uri, is not something written in your holy book or in my holy book. I have a territorial conflict with you. I have a narrative conflict with you. I don't see things the way you see it politically. That's legitimate. And then we sit down. I'm not going to ask you to fast Ramadan with me, or to come to churches with me, or go to synagogue with you. Don't ask me to do that. We have to respect each other. And we have to sit, you and us, honoring the commitment we have that no side should take any steps that may preempt or prejudge. So your question, if he annexes the so-called settlement blocks, if he annexes 1 inch, it's over. Because why? Take Abu Mazen, Saeb Erekat, this group of people who recognize the state of Israel's right to live in peace and security in 78% of Palestine, accepted a state with limited arms, accepted swaps, accepted Jerusalem to East Jerusalem, capital of Palestine, West Jerusalem, capital of Israel, accepted all of this. And then we ended up with no partners. Is that what you call me? No partner after I've done all of this? Do you think in the next 100 and 200 years, I know I will be a model. I know I'll be written about. I know there'll be articles. I know I'll be used an example by my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, showing how this man, what he did and what he did and what he responded with. Do you think any Palestinian in the next 200 years will accept to sit with your grandchildren after your experience with me and with the Palestinian peace camp? See, when nations get to the political blindness, when leaders get to the point of being politically blind, or motivated only by ideologies and ME syndrome, me above anything else. In your country today, you don't have national negotiator anymore, Uri. I'm sorry to say that. I have asked Kushner in every single meeting that I sat with him to set me up with my Israeli colleagues. I told him I don't have any quarrel with the US. My problem is with Israel. I want to sit with the Israelis. And the chief negotiator of Israel wasn't the Israeli national that I met with. It was Kushner or Greenblatt or Friedman, and up till now. Israel has no national negotiating team. Why? Because Netanyahu believes he can have the linkages, Iran from one side, Gulf from other side, this from one side, whatever, maybe Colombia, maybe Argentina, maybe Orban of whatever, maybe Ku Klux Klan, one day will become his allies. Whoever, he is willing to do anything. There are no limits to what this man can cross.
Carried away, Saeb, Ku Klux Klan. Give me a break. Listen, coming back to your city, Jericho, let's say annexation happens. What is going to look like? You'll be surrounded by Israel or what?
Yeah, I will be Saeb Erekat the next day. I will be the same person. I will be the same husband. I'll be the same father. I'll be the same grandfather. There may be roadblocks against me and so on. and this will not change. I'll go back to, my university to teach, okay? And you will be in charge of Jericho, of garbage collection, of salaries, trust me, mark my words. If the annexation happens, that means that you will be in charge of everything. The Palestinian...
One of your colleagues, Dr. Saeb Erekat, already in 2008 said that in an interview to Haaretz that the Palestinians should drop the idea of two states and instead support a one state between the Jordan and the sea where Arabs and Jews would be equal. Wouldn't the Palestinians be better off with this option?
Do you accept it, Uri, as a person?
President Reuven, no, I'm against it. But
if you find me an Israeli that's willing to tell me that he's accepting one state, equal rights.
President Rivlin is a supporter of this idea.
If look, this is a very civilized concept where Jews, Muslims, and Christians can live in one state in equal rights. I think it's a very, very civilized concept. But I don't think I will find an Israeli who will stand up and say, I will accept one state, equal rights. What you're doing now is you're creating a concept of one state, two systems. One state, two systems means apartheid. One state, two systems means I'm going to be treated differently at the roadblocks, in my schools, in the laws, in my ID cards, in my car licenses, in everything. And seems it's okay with you. That's what bothers me. That's what I mentioned the term Ku Klux Klan, with all due respect. Wake up. Wake up. We haven't had more than 30 years ago, there was a system in South Africa who had apartheid, right? Why is Israel now trying to repeat this experience, knowing that it cannot survive? Why? Why are you doing this? And then to those who recognize the state of Israel right to live in peace and security, renounce violence, and sit and negotiate, you easily say we don't have a partner to convince the Israelis that you have to dictate on them, and then we blame them for everything that goes wrong. If this is the game, if the politics and the future of your grandchildren and the future of the region is going to be based on finger pointing, assigning blame, and so on, congratulations. You have a very powerful media outlets, spokespersons, whatever that you can do, have truths, facts, and so on. Look, I've been subjected to so many things, all right? But I'm a person who's committed to peace. I'm a person who's committed, not because of you. I've never felt I'm doing you a favor as an Israeli. I'm doing it because no one benefits more from reaching an agreement with Israel more than Palestinians. And no one stands.
Saeb, you keep talking about the Jordan Valley as if I'm asking a question posed by one of the journalists. But the Jordan Valley was never a part of Palestine. I mean, there was no state of Palestine before. So how come you own it?
I have a home there. I lived in the home I was born in Jericho. It was registered under Muhammad Saeb Erekat name. And when he died, we have the inheritance in our system. Now it's in my name. My great-grandfather had lands in Jericho, and so on, and so on, and so on. So what's your question? I did not come from Mars to Jericho. I did not come from Poland to Jericho. I did not come from Moldova to Jericho and said 3,000 years ago, I was here, or whoever was here. I am the son of Jericho. I can trace my background to Jericho for hundreds of years. So is everyone who live in the Jordan Valley. This is our land. This is our territory. This is our future. This is our farms. Do you know, see, the thing is about you Israelis, you have a concept that if you ignore facts, it could mean doesn't exist. You really believe this. You know my water in Jericho. You know that Israel sells it to me at $1 a cubic meter. In 2020, a nation with almost $40,000 per capita is selling me my water in Jericho. This happens to 2020. It's shameless. And yet you find a way to find, how do we blame them? How do we finger point at them? How do we, you're just like the fault finders. You're carrying a red pen watching whatever sentence Saeb Erekat or breath or anything he will do, and then say, oh, mistakes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to make him no partner. We're going to smear him. We're going to do that. What are you doing to yourselves? What are you doing to us?
What's gonna happen if annexation happens? I mean, you expect unrest or violence? And what is the Palestinian authorities planning to do about it?
I think if the annexation takes place, and this is my analysis and studies, I think the Palestinian Authority will collapse. I'm not talking about dissolving or anything. I don't think the Palestinian Authority can survive the annexation. So you'll find yourselves as in charge, taking over all responsibilities. You have our revenues, so you pay the salaries of teachers, doctors, nurses, garbage collection, municipalities. Your children would come to run after my grandchildren in the streets of Jericho or the refugee camps. And the one thing that the Israeli politicians don't realize, Israelis to Palestinians and Palestinians to Israelis are not a military strategic threat. We don't have tanks, we don't have Navy, we don't have Air Force. We're in the same street, the same building, the same car. So the difference between each individual, Palestinian or Israeli, feeling not secure is different than national security that can be amended with the buffer zones, limited arms, whatever it is. So you, and mark my word, and I'm saying it so loudly, he does the annexations, he's gonna be in charge of everything like what he did in 1992, like Israel did. You will destroy the Palestinian Authority with the annexation. And you will find yourself responsible from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean.
Saeb, we're talking about Trump and Trump people, but
no, Netanyahu. Talking about Netanyahu.
Okay, but it's the axis Trump Netanyahu. Okay. But the elections coming in November in the state, and there's some possibility, at least, that Joe Biden might take over. Do you have any contacts with the Democrats about what's going to happen?
I have contacts with many Americans. I talked with them for the last 30 years. I have much contacts in the Congress, in the Senate, in the think tanks, in the universities, the churches, and ex-officials. And so as much as I have so many contacts with Israelis, actually. And the point is, I've seen 5 letters in 45 days from congressmen and senators, which I haven't seen since 1948, condemning annexation, condemning the Trump plan, sticking to the two-state solution. So I see a major difference. I see a major difference in even with the United States, because at the end of the day, it's not about satisfying the ideology of a certain individual who was the chief guard of this settlement or that, or who has his children studying in this settlement or that, or he had funded settlements here and there, or he thinks he can scare this country or that country. See, I will say something that I'll be responsible for, I know, but I'm going to say it. The doctrine of Netanyahu, I've known this man for 33 years. This man believes that a strong, prosperous Israel needs conflict, not peace. Okay? On the other side of the Atlantic, you have a president of the United States who believes that nations either born to be strong or to find strong nations to protect them at the right price. Right? So the laws have, the jungle has a law. Chaos has order. So if you combine the doctrine of Netanyahu and the doctrine of Trump, what will you get? An international system of what? Name it. One who tells you that my country is much better off in conflict, much prosperous, much stronger, much united, because he's a master at exporting fear. Leaders usually export hope, export technology, export agriculture, develop education. Netanyahu is a master at exporting fear, and he succeeded even in convincing the Israelis that he doesn't have a partner in people who recognized Israel right to exist in Palestine.
Right. Saeb, Al-Quds reported on Friday that Avi Berkovitz, one of the advisors of Trump, was speaking to Palestinian business people who are close to the PA in order to maybe open channels of communications with the Palestinians. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of the fact that business people, Palestinian business people are doing that?
No. I don't stop Avi Berkovich or Urdrumi or anybody to speak with anybody, okay? But I will tell you very loudly, we have not mandated anyone to speak on our behalf in the PLO. No one. So if they want to meet, go to Salah ad-Din Street, come to Jericho Streets, go to Nablus Street, go to Rafah Streets, and find any Palestinian, sit with them, and say, oh, we're speaking to Palestinians. There are 13 million Palestinians around the world, okay? There are 700,000 Palestinians in the United States of America, living American Palestinians, okay? So as far as this administration is concerned, I remember the last meeting I had with Kushner in his office, 30th of November, White House, when he informed me that they will not put the waiver to not remove the embassy. I told him, look at this face. This will be the last Palestinian official face that you will see, right? So no, those who meet with Kushner or meet with Avi Berkovich or are doing it in their own. They're doing it because once again, we have not mandated anyone. No one on earth is mandated on behalf of the PLO. We are the ones who negotiate for the Palestinian people. And we're
okay,
the representative of the Palestinians.
We're ready to wrap up, but last question. You mentioned the international conference. Obviously, when you talk about it, you have Annapolis 2008 in mind, where you participated with President Bush, Condoleezza Rice presiding, with representatives from all around the world, indeed with actual results, the direct talks, which followed between Ehud Olmert and Abu Mazen, between Livni and Abu Ala. Who will convene such conference today? The Russians, the Chinese, and who will come when everybody is troubled by COVID-19 and its economic ramifications?
Uri, the first point of priority now is to see if we can prevent the annexation. That's our main task now. So tomorrow, Monday, 15th, our representative or ambassador of the UN will begin consultations on two fronts. One, for a meeting for the General Assembly, and I'm telling it to you for the first time, to see that we can form an international coalition against annexation. Where an annexation is against international law, and there should be sanctions and consequences on Israel. This is what we're going to do in the General Assembly. And on the 24th, we have a meeting of the Security Council in which we will upgrade it, try to upgrade it to a ministerial level. We know there is a veto there, but at least we can get 14 people, 14 countries who will oppose annexation. See, the point I want to say to you, what Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump don't realize is that the 194 nations in the UN, including your nation, your country, including the Arabs, including the Africans, the Asians, Latin Americans, the Europeans, there is not a single nation without a problem of its geographic fabric and its demographic fabric. So if Netanyahu wants to go ahead with Friedman, with the annexation, it means the Spanish should be concerned that one day they will wake up to find Barcelona the capital of the Republic of Catalonia if the price is right to the Netanyahus and to the Trumps, right? Ecuador, Peru, the Kuril Islands between the Russians and the Japanese. There is not a single nation. So if Netanyahu insists in taking this path of annexations and dictating and abandoning international law because he has the tanks and the power and the Trump, he's going to push the world into an area where he will be the first to pay the price one day. International law did not come in a vacuum. It came after 6,000 years of recorded history in which more than 5,800 years were blood and war. And humans in their civilized minds developed these laws to guide how relationships between entities and nation states and people should be. What Netanyahu and Trump are doing now, Friedman and Kushner, are breaking these 6,000 years of civilized development. They're bringing us back to the ages of primitive relations between political entities and tribes, whoever has the swords and the arrows and whatever can be the victorious. And the thing is, they really tell me, I saw some Israeli and some Jewish writers in the United States writing articles saying that I was defeated, and because Palestinians were defeated, they must surrender. I don't recall I was defeated. Yes, I was 12 years old when your occupation came to my hometown, Jericho. I'm 65 now. I have 8 grandchildren, all right? And I feel more Palestinian today than I ever felt in my life. I feel the urge to have independence and freedom and dignity for my grandchildren than any time before in my life. And I don't know how these hallucinations about Palestinians, I read an article for a prominent Jewish American person, Pipes, I don't know what his name, Daniel Pipes, saying that Palestinians, they are defeated and they should just surrender. And if they think that I'm defeated and I should surrender, I'm not defeated and I will not surrender. You are.
Saeb, are you aware of the interview that the ambassador of the Emirates to Washington gave to Yediot Ahronot on Friday, in which he warned Israel against annexation?
Well, I think this was a response to Netanyahu, because Netanyahu is not telling the truth. Let me use this civilized word, not telling the truth when he says about Arabs normalization and so on and so on and so on and so on. With annexation, listen to what the Saudi Arabian foreign minister said 2 days ago in the Organization of Islamic Countries. He said one sentence: if they move with the annexation, it means it's impossible to have peace between Palestinians and Israelis. It's impossible to have peace between any Arab country and Israel. Listen to King Abdullah of Jordan. Please, Jordan's security and stability is one of the most permanent, cardinal issues for anyone in this region. But Netanyahu is playing with fire. Listen to what King Abdullah of Jordan said. Listen to everybody. They're telling you very openly, Mr. Netanyahu, if you move with annexation, forget it. There will not be normalization, there will not be relations. And I'm telling him, if he moves with annexation, he will end the possibility of a negotiated peaceful settlement between Palestinians and Israelis. And he called us enclaves, the shameless. He said Palestinians will live in enclaves. Israel Hayom, May 28, 2020, print. He wants me to live in enclaves, that is translated into prison camps. That's where he developed in 2020. And the majority of Israelis support that. My God.
Saeb, can I ask you a personal question? You had some health issues in the last year, so every time you get animated, I'm a bit concerned. How are you coping in the Corona times?
Well, look, Uri, I mean, I don't want to get personal, but I will tell you a funny story. I did my lung transplant on October 12, 2017. And with it came an open heart surgery. So after that, I am not supposed to have any immunity as long as I live. So I take, tens of maybe 49 pills a day to kill immunity in my body. So before Corona, I was the only person with a mask. I could not shake hands. I could not hug. I could not go to meetings. I have to sit in distance. I have to do this and that and that. And this, I was, it was very, very heavily impacted me on the personal level, my psychology, my behavior. And then I woke up one morning to find 8 billion people around the world that had gone under a lung transplant. Everybody's like me. Everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody's social distancing. Everybody's sanitizing their hands every 20 minutes. Everybody's not doing this and that. And I'm finalizing a book on the psychological impact on behavior of an individual who lives in these circumstances in a normal world and in an abnormal world living these circumstances and their effects in the individual, which is fascinating.
Saeb Erekat, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Keep up be safe and healthy and keep up the spirit of hope. I want to thank JPC's able coordinator, Rachel Legzil, for facilitating this webinar. Stay tuned to our next ones and on Tuesday with settlers of Benjamin Council and on Wednesday on the international law ramification. thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.